What's going on, everybody? You are watching the Jets Report. My name is Patrick Siepman, and coming up on today's show, the Jets officially have the worst record in football, which means they're going to have the number one pick in the NFL draft. As it stands right now, still a lot of games left to be played, but we'll talk about the number one overall selection if the Jets do end up getting it. And then also later on today's show, more takeaways from the 0-5 start. I do want to talk about Aaron Glenn and why fans, should be critical of how this team has played throughout the first 5 games, but you also have to be patient. Like, this is not just going to turn around instantly. This is a bad organization. It is going to take some time to get this Jets team out of the mud. So we'll talk about more takeaways on the second half of today's show. But with the Jets having the number one pick, what would you guys do with it? If season ended today, draft is just around the corner, what should the Jets do with the number one pick? Would you trade it, or would you stick and pick and draft a player? Give me a T for trade, or give me a D for draft. Now, as it stands right now, obviously, a lot of college football season left to be played. A lot of guys will fly up draft boards. But unless a quarterback blows away scouts during the second half of the season where it's like, all right, that guy is a generational, can't-miss prospect. Like, we're talking about, this guy on the level of, like, Trevor Lawrence, Joe Burrow, not even on the level of Cam Ward. Like, if he's a Cam Ward-level prospect, I would still want the Jets to trade out of that spot. So I think the Jets, if you do land the number one pick, you got to trade out of that spot and just try to build a more complete team. Because if you just draft a quarterback, is he going to be set up to succeed? Probably not with how many holes are on this roster. And, listen, Justin Fields, I will say, I don't think he's the answer at quarterback. And I think, again, that's an obvious take here. But he also isn't the issue with the New York Jets. Like, Fields has been great this year. I mean, the guy just can't throw the football. He's a fantastic athlete. He's a fantastic leader. Clearly, the guys like him. But when it comes to actually throwing the football, Fields has seriously struggled this year, still doesn't see the field too well, holds on to the ball too long, and I don't think that's something that's going to change, at this point in his NFL career. So obviously Fields, I don't think he is the answer, but he's also not the main problem. Like the 0-5 start, you can't just chalk it up to like, oh, Justin Fields isn't playing well. Honestly, he's been one of the somewhat lone bright spots offensively for this team, but this is a wild stat, and this is also why I'm concerned for the rest of this season. Because I think the Jets have the worst defense in the NFL, at least right now. Now, they can obviously get better. But Justin Fields is 0-26 when his defense allows 20+. So you take that stat, and then you have how bad the Jets' defense is right now. Find it hard to believe they're going to be winning a lot of games for the remainder of the season. So obviously that's not a good stat, which is why I think it is likely the Jets are at least picking in the top 3, if not number 1, when it's all said and done. But I do want to go back and look at this trade from last draft. This is between the Jags and the Cleveland Browns. Obviously, Browns ended up having the second pick in the draft. Jags viewed a generational prospect like a Travis Hunter. They wanted to jump up 3 spots, and you still have to give a haul. They had to give up a second and fourth round pick, 36 and 126. And they also had to give up a first round pick. So you're giving up a second, a fourth, and a future 1 to just move up 3 spots. Obviously, the Jags had attached pick 104 and 200. But still, this was a fleece job by the Cleveland Browns. And kind of gets me to this. Teams will be calling. Like, when you have a top 3 pick in the draft, and even if it's not like a loaded draft, still these guys fly up draft boards. These GMs fall in love with like certain players, just like the Jags GM fell in love with Travis Hunter. He's like, you know what, I got to do whatever it takes to get that blue chip player. Teams will be calling, and the Jets will have an opportunity to accumulate a ton of draft capital. And also for the people who are saying, oh, they got to draft a quarterback, like, hey, once we get the quarterback right, all the other issues on this team will be fixed. The Jets aren't ready for a quarterback. And that's okay, because you got to build up everything around him before just throwing a quarterback in there, or else it's going to be the same thing that happened to Darnold, the same thing that happened to Zach Wilson. And organizations fail quarterbacks more than quarterbacks fail organizations. Now, obviously, it can happen both ways. Like, I think Zach Wilson, obviously, he's not working out anywhere, but you take a look at, like, the 2 guys who were in a shootout yesterday. Baker Mayfield, Sam Darnold. Baker Mayfield went to the Cleveland Browns. He actually played some damn good football for Cleveland, won them a playoff game. But they decided to move off him because he started playing poorly with a terrible team around him. Turns out that was a boneheaded decision. Same with the Jets when they drafted Darnold. Were those Jets teams ready for a rookie quarterback? Because he pretty much, as a rookie, first couple of years in the league, he had to go Superman cape if the Jets wanted to win any games. And now he goes to Seattle. He went to Minnesota with a good support system, good coach, good play caller, and we're seeing these guys play great football. I just think too often these organizations just say, hey, we're going to draft a quarterback. It's going to fix everything. Look at the Titans right now. Even though the Titans won yesterday, that game was as fluky as it gets. They're still one of the worst teams in the league. But they thought, hey, we'll draft a quarterback. It'll fix everything. So I want the Jets to seriously consider just not drafting a quarterback. It's okay. Don't take the flashy pick. Take another defensive lineman. Take a D tackle. Take a safety. Get anybody. You just need more talent on this roster. So I'll ask you guys, though. I'm completely against it. But, again, unless a quarterback flies up the draft boards and it's like, all right, that guy's Joe Burrow. That guy's Trevor Lawrence. If not, I say you pass. But would you draft a QB next year? Give me a D for draft or give me a P for pass. Now, I do want to talk about Aaron Glenn and just the 0-5 start for the Jets because obviously not good, but there are some things to just be patient about, and hopefully he ends up building it. But if you guys want to get some more New York Jets merch, click this link, chatsports.com/Jets hoodies. I'll have that link for you guys in the comment section and description of today's show. So the number one takeaway from the 0-5 start, it's just a rough start for Aaron Glenn. And, that's okay. Like, I'm not expecting him to be perfect from the jump. But, when you think about what poorly coached teams do, they beat themselves, they have a lot of penalties, and also probably the most concerning part with Aaron Glenn is his side of the football, I think, is the worst in the NFL right now. The Jets defense can't stop a nosebleed. They are horrible. Now also, I will say, not a lot of talent on that side of the field. Besides Quinnen Williams, who else is there really the right home about? Even Sauce Gardner's been flat out, pretty horrible the last 3 weeks. So I don't want to put it all on Aaron Glenn, but when you do have, a coach who is struggling, you got to look at specifically his side of the football. Now, let's just say the Jets were 0-5, but Justin Fields and the offense couldn't get anything going, which they really haven't. But let's just say the defense was playing really good football, only giving up 18 points a game. It's okay, the Jets have something here in Aaron Glenn, but his side of the football has seriously, seriously struggled. And I know everybody's going to probably be saying, well, Dan Campbell, he started off bad. I think that's going to be the go-to take for every NFL fan base if their newly hired head coach starts off, 0-5, 0-6, whatever. But there is some truth to it. Dan Campbell, he took over the Lions organization. The Lions, they are the class in the NFL right now. But back in 2020 and 2021, they were a joke. It takes time to get these organizations, which are so poorly ran top to bottom, which the Jets are, you are going to have to give it some time. The dude was 3-13 his first year coaching. There's a chance the Jets go 3-14 this year, but you got to be patient. Also, this 2022 year, pretty sure they started off 0-7. So even though it might take a year and a half, 2 years, you still have to be patient. And also, if I want to make a case for Aaron Glenn and why I don't necessarily blame him too much, the roster just straight up blows. There are way too many holes on this roster, and there really wasn't anything they could do about it. You had the massive dead cap hit with Aaron Rodgers, even a guy like Devontae Adams. There really weren't too many answers to solve this roster. Now, maybe they put too much faith in, the fucking Brandon Stevens signing. That was a joke. Put too much faith in a guy like Tony Adams. But still, the roster has too many holes, and, it's just, especially defensively, so it's kind of tough to get anything going. And, I will say this about Fields, even though, like I said, I don't think he's the problem here. Maybe if he had a really good support system, you could, salvage something with Justin Fields, but I just think he's a backup quarterback, and, that's fine. Justin Fields, he just can't win from the pocket. And I just find it hard to believe, unless you have a system that is completely built around him and you have, studs all around you, it's tough to win a lot of football games with Justin Fields. And I also think this is so telling. Pittsburgh Steelers last year, they're 4-2. They were rolling, and they still decided to turn to Russell Wilson instead of riding it out with Justin Fields. Even this offseason, they decided to go in a different direction. I'm not saying the Steelers are, whatever they do is the for sure right thing to do, but I do think that was telling. When you go 4-2 with a guy, clearly the locker room is buying into him, and they still had the stones just be hey, we're going to go to Russell Wilson. Well, Russell Wilson just flat out stinks as well. So I just think at this point, Justin Fields is a backup quarterback. Ride it out for the rest of the season. But the Jets, I don't know if they find that upgrade this offseason, but eventually at some point, maybe it's the following, you're going to have to get an upgrade at quarterback. And I actually think the Jets have the worst secondary in the league. If you had to combine the safety and corner position, I think it's the worst in the league. Because, listen, we were talking about if this secondary wanted to be any good this year, you needed Sauce Gardner to play the best corner in the league. He hasn't played a top 20 corner. And Brandon Stevens, he is as bad as advertised. That contract is horrible. Tony Adams is the worst player in the National Football League. I am not being hyperbolic when I say that. He is the worst player that gets real minutes and real snaps in the NFL. to the secondary. I think it's honestly worse than NFL. But I say all that to say this. Just be patient. Like, this team is a dumpster fire. It wasn't going to take Aaron Glenn stepping in there, giving a couple rah-rah quotes, and then everything's going to be all smooth. They've had terrible fumble luck. They've had a bunch of injuries as well. And also, you got a first-time offensive coordinator. Steve Wilkes needs to go. I will say he should not be a part of this coaching staff next season, if not to finish this season. But just be patient. It's going to take some time. Again, we live in this microwave society where it's like, oh, man, Aaron Glenn, he's firing me up. Man, we should be 4-1 right now. You're 0-5. Like, what if he rips off? Like, what if the Jets finish this year just playing 500 football and you're still, let's just say, like 5-12 when it's all said and done? I think that would be a successful season. It's going to take some time. We knew this team wasn't winning the Super Bowl anyways this season, but hopefully the culture's being built. We're not at practice. We're not in the locker room. Kind of seems like Glenn still has these guys bought in, which is a very positive thing when you are 0-5, the only team in the NFL without a win. So, hey, if you guys are still a diehard Jets fan, just give me a me down below in the comment section. Same old Jets, but you guys are some sickos. You guys still love this football team, so I appreciate you. So we'll get out of here. Appreciate you guys watching. As always, go Jets.